The morning sun barely peeked through the thin curtains as Dana Mitchell's alarm buzzed for the third time. She reached over and silenced it, forcing her tired eyes open. It was 5:30 a.m., and another long day waited for her. Dana took a deep breath and pushed herself up from the bed she'd found secondhand last year. The small two-bedroom apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of the old refrigerator in the kitchen, a sound that reminded her it might break down any day now. Another expense she couldn't afford to think about. "Boys," she called softly, knocking on the door across the narrow hallway. "Time to get up." Dana made her way to the bathroom, catching her reflection in the mirror. At 32, the dark circles under her eyes made her look older. Her brown hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she noticed a new worry line on her forehead. She splashed cold water on her face and whispered her daily reminder, one day at a time. In the kitchen, Dana prepared breakfast with what little they had, some eggs, the last of the bread, and juice she'd watered down to make it last longer. She packed lunches for her boys while mentally calculating how many hours she would need to work this week to cover Tyler's newest medical bill. Jackson stumbled into the kitchen first, his hair sticking up in all directions. At 10 years old, he was becoming more aware of their financial struggles and had started trying to help in small ways. "Morning, Mom," he yelped, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "I can finish making the lunches if you want." Dana smiled, feeling a tug at her heart. "Thanks, buddy, I've got it. Did you finish your homework last night?" Jackson nodded and reached for a plate. Dana noticed his school uniform looked a bit short at the ankles. Another expense to add to her growing list. Soon after, 7-year-old Tyler joined them, moving slower than his brother. His recent asthma flare-up had left him tired, and the expensive medications only partially helped. His inhaler, the one insurance only partially covered, sat on the counter where Dana had placed it last night after counting how many doses remained. "How are you feeling today, Ty?" she asked, resting a hand on his forehead out of habit. "I'm okay," he said with a small smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The three ate breakfast together as Dana went over their day. "I'll drop you both at school, then I've got my shift at the coffee shop until 2. Then I'll head straight to the restaurant for the dinner service." "And Mrs. Lopez will pick us up?" Jackson asked, already knowing the answer to this familiar routine. "That's right. She'll keep you until I'm done around midnight." Dana worked 3 jobs, morning shifts at a coffee shop, afternoon tutoring sessions when she could get them, and dinner service at the Coastal Grill, an upscale restaurant where she made most of her money through tips. On good nights, those tips covered groceries for the week. On great nights, she could put a little aside for Tyler's medical fund. After breakfast, they rushed through their morning routine. Dana helped Tyler with his shoes while reminding Jackson to grab his science project from the kitchen table. She grabbed her 3 different work uniforms, stuffing them into her one backpack. The drive to school was filled with Tyler's excited chatter about the class pet, a hamster named Whiskers, while Jackson quizzed himself for a math test. Dana watched them in the rearview mirror, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. Everything she did, every double shift and missed hour of sleep, was for them. "Have a great day, loves," she said as she dropped them off, hugging each tightly. "Remember, Mrs. Lopez is picking you up." "We know, Mom," Jackson said with the impatience of a child who'd heard the same instructions 100 times. "I love you to the moon," Dana said. And back again. Both boys responded, their practiced routine bringing smiles to their faces. As Dana drove away toward her first job, she allowed herself one moment of worry. The bills were piling up, Tyler needed another specialist appointment, and Jackson's school had announced a field trip that required fees she couldn't spare. Something would have to give soon. Little did she know that in just a few days, an unexpected encounter would change everything for her little family. The Friday evening rush at the Coastal Grill was in full swing. Dana's feet ached as she balanced 3 plates along her arm, weaving between tables with practiced ease. The restaurant buzzed with the clinking of glasses and the hum of conversation. Fancy folks in business suits and designer dresses filled the tables, most spending more on one meal than Dana earned in a full day's work. 6 hours into her shift, Dana had already served 12 tables, memorized 4 special requests, and fixed a mix-up in the kitchen without the customers ever knowing. Her tip jar was doing okay, not great, but enough to maybe buy Jackson the new shoes he needed for school. "Order up for table 8, called Tony, the head chef with the booming voice that carried across the noisy kitchen. Dana grabbed the plates and headed out, plastering on her good-tipped smile despite the growing pain in her lower back. After dropping off the order, she stopped by the small employee break room to gulp down some water. Her 15-minute break wasn't for another hour, but she needed just a moment to catch her breath. "Dana, there you are." She turned to see Miguel, the restaurant manager, rushing toward her with an unusual look of excitement mixed with panic. Miguel was normally cool-headed even during the busiest nights. "What's up?" Dana asked, already setting down her water glass, preparing for bad news. Maybe another server had called in sick, or there was a problem with one of her tables. Miguel lowered his voice, glancing around like he was about to share state secrets. "We just got a call from security downstairs. Shaquille O'Neal is on his way up." "Like, D.A.E. Shaquille O'Neal?" Dana's eyes widened. "The basketball player?" "The legend himself," Miguel muttered, straightening his tie nervously. "He's got a small group with him, and they're being seated in your section. Table 12. Dana's heart did a little jump. Even people who didn't follow basketball knew who Shaq was, the larger-than-life NBA star turned sports analyst and entrepreneur. Her boys, especially Jackson, would absolutely lose their minds if they knew. "Got it," she said, trying to sound professional, though her stomach had suddenly filled with butterflies. "I'll make sure everything's perfect." Miguel grabbed her arm gently. "This is a big deal for the restaurant, Dana. The owner just called me himself. If Shaq posts about eating here on his social media," he let the sentence hang in the air, the implications clear. Dana nodded, understanding the pressure. "I'll handle it like any other table. Professional, attentive, but not hovering." "That's why I want you on this. You're our best," Miguel said before hurrying off to alert the kitchen staff. Dana quickly ducked into the bathroom to check her appearance. She tucked a few stray hairs back into her bun and straightened her black server's vest. She thought about calling the boys to tell them, but there wasn't time. Maybe she could sneak a photo to show them later. As she stepped back into the dining room, a noticeable shift in energy rippled through the space. Heads turned toward the entrance, whispers erupted, and several diners not so supply reached for their phones. And there he was, Shaquille O'Neal, ducking slightly to clear the doorway, his massive frame making everything around him seem smaller by comparison. Even from across the room, Dana could feel his presence. He was accompanied by 3 people who looked like business associates, all well-dressed and carrying themselves with confidence. Dana took a deep breath and smoothed down her apron. Just another customer, she told herself, just another table. But as the hostess led the group toward table 12, Dana couldn't help but think about how the boys would react. Tyler had a poster of Shaq in his dream board college for school, right next to pictures of doctors, what he wanted to be when he grew up, and a house with a yard, what he wanted their family to have someday. Dana straightened her shoulders and picked up 4 menus from the station. Miguel caught her eye from across the room and gave her an encouraging nod. This was just another table, just another customer. But maybe, just maybe, this would be the night when her luck finally changed. Dana approached table 12 with steady steps, though her heart hammered in her chest. Up close, Shaquille O'Neal was even more impressive. His broad shoulders seemed to take up half the booth, and his friendly smile lit up his face as he chatted with his companions. "Good evening and welcome to the Coastal Grill," Dana said, her voice remarkably calm despite her nerves. "My name is Dana, and I'll be taking care of you tonight." Shaq looked up, his eyes meeting hers with unexpected warmth. "Hey there, Dana. Nice to meet you." His voice was deep but gentle, and he actually seemed to be paying attention to her, unlike many of the wealthy customers who barely acknowledged the servers. She handed out menus to the group, 2 men and a woman who appeared to be business partners or friends. "Our specials tonight include a pan-seared grouper with mango salsa and a prime ribeye with truffle butter." "That ribeye sounds serious," Shaq said with a grin that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. "How big are we talking?" 20 ounces, Dana replied. "Though I have a feeling that might just be an appetizer for you." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Instead of being offended, Shaq let out a deep, rumbling laugh that turned heads throughout the restaurant. "You got that right. Might need to order 2. His companion smiled, looking more relaxed now. The woman in a sleek blue blazer spoke up. "Is the chef still doing that amazing crab cake? I was here about 6 months ago, and it was incredible." "Absolutely," Dana nodded. "It's one of our signature dishes." The conversation flowed naturally as Dana took their drink orders, water for everyone and a bottle of sparkling cider for the table. Shaq explained he didn't drink alcohol during the basketball season, a habit he kept even after retiring. When Dana returned with their drinks, she noticed a young boy at a nearby table staring open-mouthed at Shaq, tugging desperately at his father's sleeve and pointing. Shaq caught the boy's eye and gave him a friendly wave. The boy's face lit up like a Christmas tree. "Fans everywhere you go, huh?" Dana commented as she set down the glasses. Shaq shrugged good-naturedly. "Kids are the best fans. They're honest. They either like you or they don't. No pretending." "I know what you mean," Dana said. "I have 2 boys myself. They're pretty straightforward about whether they like my cooking or not." "How old?" Shaq asked, seeming genuinely interested. 10 and 7, she answered, surprised by his question. Most customers never asked anything personal. "Good ages," he nodded. "Still think Mom's the coolest person in the world." There was something knowing in his eyes, a sincerity that caught Dana off guard. Their food order was substantial. Appetizers for the whole table, 2 entrees for Shaq himself, just as he joked, and meals for each of his companions. Throughout the evening, Dana provided attentive service, making sure their drinks stayed filled and checking in at perfect intervals, not too much to be annoying, but enough to show she cared about their experience. She noticed little things about how Shaq interacted with people, the way he thanked the busboy who refilled the water glasses, how he remembered Dana's name each time he addressed her, the patient way he posed for a quick photo with the chef when Tony couldn't resist coming out from the kitchen to meet him. During a lull between the main course and dessert, the woman in Shaq's party excused herself to take a phone call. One of the men went to the restroom. For a moment, it was just Shaq and the other man at the table when Dana came to clear some plates. "How long have you been working here, Dana?" Shaq asked as she stacked the empty dishes. "Almost 3 years," she replied. "It's a good place. The tips help with the bills." The comment had slipped out, a bit more personal than she usually got with customers. Shaq nodded thoughtfully. 3 jobs, right?" he asked. Dana looked up, startled. "How did you?" "The manager mentioned it when he stopped by earlier. Said you're the hardest worker they've got." Shaq's expression was serious now, respectful. "That's not easy, especially with kids." For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Dana felt a strange connection, like he actually saw her, not just as a server, but as a person with a life and struggles beyond these walls. "We do what we need to for our kids," she said simply. Shaq nodded, something unreadable passing across his face. "Yes, we do." The dinner service continued, but something had shifted in the air between Dana and the famous basketball player. A kind of quiet understanding. As she brought the dessert menus, Dana noticed Shaq's companions had returned to the table, but they were checking their watches and speaking in low, urgent tones. "I hate to cut this short," the woman in the blue blazer said to Shaq, "but we really should get going. The conference call with Tokyo is in 40 minutes. Shaq glanced at his own watch and nodded, though he looked a bit disappointed. "Judy calls," he said with a small shrug. He turned to Dana as she approached. "I think we'll have to skip dessert. Could we get the check?" "Of course," Dana replied, tucking the dessert menus back under her arm. "I'll be right back with that." As she walked away to print their bill, Dana felt a strange mix of emotions. The night had gone perfectly. Shaq and his group had been pleasant, respectful customers who'd ordered plenty of food and drinks. The tip would surely be good. Yet she felt a twinge of sadness that the evening was ending so abruptly. Back at the service station, Miguel hovered nearby, clearly eager for an update. "So, how's it going? Is he happy with everything?" the manager asked in a hushed tone. Dana nodded as she punched numbers into the computer. "They've been great. Very easy to serve. No complaints. They're heading out now. Some business call they need to make." Miguel's face fell slightly. I was hoping they'd stay longer. Good for business, you know. Having him here." Dana printed the check and placed it in a letter folder. The total came to just over $400, a substantial bill, even by the Coastal Grille standards. She took a moment to write a quick note on the receipt. "It was an honor serving you. Hope you visit again. Dana." It was a small thing, but she often left notes for customers who had been especially nice. And despite his fame and fortune, Shaq had been one of the kindest people she'd served in months. When she returned to the table, the group was already standing, gathering their things. The man in the gray suit handed Dana a credit card before she could even set down the check folder. "Just add 20% for yourself," he said briskly. "We're in a bit of a hurry." "Thank you, I'll process this right away," Dana replied, taking the card. As she turned to leave, Shaq spoke up. "Actually, I'd like to take care of the bill." He reached for his wallet. The woman shook her head. "Company expense, remember? Let the firm handle it." Shaq paused, then nodded. "Right." He turned to Dana. "Sorry about rushing out like this." "No problem at all," she assured him. "I understand." As Dana processed the payment at the terminal, she watched the group from the corner of her eye. Shaq seemed to be looking for something. He asked the hostess for a pen, then grabbed a napkin from the table. He scribbled something down, folded the napkin carefully, and handed it to the hostess with a few quiet words. Dana finished processing the payment, adding the 20% tip as requested. She returned to the table with the receipt and card, but only the man in the gray suit remained, impatiently checking his phone. "Thank you," he said distractedly, taking the card and receipt without really looking at her. "The others are already headed down. Great service, by the way." And just like that, they were gone. The evening rush continued around her, but the restaurant somehow felt emptier despite still being packed with customers. Dana cleared the table, trying not to feel disappointed. What had she expected? That a celebrity like Shaquille O'Neal would want to have a long conversation with a waitress? That he'd even remember her tomorrow? She shook her head at her own silliness and stacked the dirty plates. As she reached for a water glass, the hostess appeared at her side. "Hey, Dana, Shaq asked me to give you this." She held out the folded napkin. "He said to make sure you got it personally." Dana took the napkin, confused. "What is it?" The hostess shrugged. "No idea. He just said it was for you." Dana slipped the napkin into her apron pocket. Whatever it was, she'd look at it later. Right now, she had 3 more tables to serve before her shift ended, and Tyler's medication wouldn't pay for itself. Still, as she moved through the rest of her evening, the napkin seemed to burn in her pocket, a mystery waiting to be solved. The rest of Dana's shift dragged on like molasses in winter. Every time she felt the folded napkin in her pocket, curiosity gnawed at her. What could Shaquille O'Neal possibly have written to her? Maybe it was just an autograph for her boys. That would certainly make their day. Jackson would probably sleep with it under his pillow for a week. 3 more tables, 2 dessert orders, and 1 spilled drink later, Dana finally finished her closing duties. The restaurant had quieted, with only a few late diners lingering over coffee and dessert. She untied her apron and slipped into the break room, collapsing onto a chair with a sigh of relief. "Long night?" asked Patty, an older waitress who had taken Dana under her wing when she first started at the Coastal Grill. "The usual Friday madness," Dana replied, rubbing her sore feet. "Plus, I had Shaquille O'Neal in my section." Patty's eyes widened. "No way. What was he like?" "Surprisingly nice. Normal, even," Dana said, smiling at the memory. "He asked about my kids." As they chatted, Dana remembered the napkin. She reached into her pocket and pulled it out, the white paper now slightly crumpled from hours in her apron. "What's that?" Patty asked, nodding toward Dana's hand. "I'm not sure. Shaq left it for me." Patty's eyebrows shot up. "Well, open it, honey. Don't keep me in suspense." Dana carefully unfolded the napkin. On it was handwritten note, the letters large and slightly slanted. "For Dana, thank you for the great service and conversation. Your boys are lucky to have such a hard-working mom. Hope this helps make their dreams a little closer. Shaq." Dana stared at the words, confused at first. Then she noticed something else tucked inside the folded napkin, a check. She picked it up with fingers that had suddenly started to tremble. Her eyes widened, and she gasped so loudly that Patty jumped. "What? What is it?" Patty demanded, leaning forward. Dana couldn't speak. She simply turned the check so Patty could see it. $25,000. Made out to Dana Mitchell. Signed by Shaquille O'Neal. Oh my God, Patty whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh my God, Dana. The room seemed to spin. Dana stared at the check, convinced she was misreading the amount. Maybe it was $2,500 or $250. But no, there it was, clear as day, $25,000. This can't be real, Dana said, her voice barely audible. Why would he? But even as she said it, she remembered their brief conversation. How he'd known she worked 3 jobs. How she'd mentioned her boys. Had he somehow sensed how much she was struggling? Or was this just something he did, random acts of enormous generosity? Honey, are you okay? Patty asked, concerned by Dana's pale face. Dana opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. Instead, tears welled up in her eyes and spilled down her cheeks. Her hands shook so badly that Patty gently took the check from her fingers to prevent it from dropping to the floor. This would cover, Dana's voice broke. She took a deep breath and tried again. This would cover all of Tyler's medical bills and Jackson's school fees, maybe even a down payment on a small house. The reality of what this meant crashed over her like a wave. For 3 years, she had been treading water, barely keeping her head above the surface with 3 jobs and endless worry. Every time she'd gotten a little ahead, another expense would appear. Tyler's asthma treatments, the car breaking down, the rent increase. Now, in an instant, everything had changed. Dana covered her face with her hands and sobbed, deep, body-shaking sobs that released years of pent-up fear and exhaustion. Patty wrapped an arm around her shoulders. It's okay, honey. Let it out. Miguel pushed open the break room door, then froze at the sight of Dana crying. What's wrong? What happened? Patty simply held up the check, and Miguel's jaw dropped. Is that from Chuck? Dana nodded, unable to speak through her tears. She fumbled in her pocket for her phone. She had to call Mrs. Lopez, had to tell her boys. But her fingers wouldn't work properly, and fresh tears blurred her vision. In a matter of minutes, the news spread throughout the restaurant. Staff members gathered in the break room, staring in disbelief at the check, patting Dana's back, some wiping away tears of their own. Through her overwhelmed haze, Dana held tight to the note. Not just the money, but the words. Your boys are lucky to have such a hard-working mom. After years of doubt and struggle, wondering if she was doing enough, those words felt almost as valuable as the check itself. Dana's hands trembled as she unlocked her apartment door just after midnight. The check was safely tucked in her purse, which she clutched tightly against her side as if it might disappear. Her mind was still spinning, unable to fully process what had happened. Mrs. Lopez opened the door before Dana could even get her key all the way in. The older woman's eyes were wide with excitement. Is it true? She whispered, mindful of the sleeping boys in the bedroom. You called me so upset I could barely understand what you were saying. Dana nodded, her eyes filling with tears again. She'd called Mrs. Lopez from the restaurant parking lot, sobbing so hard that she could barely get the words out. The kind neighbor had insisted Dana take her time driving home, concerned about her driving while so emotional. I still can't believe it, Dana whispered back, stepping inside and gently closing the door. She pulled the check from her purse with shaking fingers and showed it to Mrs. Lopez. Dios mío, Mrs. Lopez gasped, making the sign of the cross. $25,000? From the basketball player? Shaquille O'Neal, Dana confirmed, still saying the name like it might break the spell. He left it with a note. Mrs. Lopez wrapped Dana in a tight hug, and Dana found herself crying again. She'd cried more tonight than she had in the past 3 years combined. The boys? Dana asked, wiping her eyes. Fast asleep. Jackson tried to wait up for you, but they both crashed around 9. Mrs. Lopez smiled, patting Dana's cheek affectionately. They will be so excited in the morning. After Mrs. Lopez left, Dana tiptoed into the boys' bedroom. They shared the small room, Jackson on the bottom bunk and Tyler on top. Tyler's breathing was soft but slightly wheezy, a sound that usually filled Dana with worry. Tonight, the sound made her heart swell with hope. The specialist appointments they couldn't afford, the better medications with fewer side effects, all of it was possible now. She gently brushed the hair from Tyler's forehead, then tucked Jackson's blanket more securely around him. They looked so peaceful, so unaware that their lives had just changed dramatically. Dana couldn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, staring at the check in the dim light from the stove hood. What would she do first? Pay off Tyler's medical bills, definitely. Then maybe find a better apartment in a safer neighborhood, closer to the boys' school. Put some aside for college. Maybe even cut back to just one job so she could be home more. For the first time in years, Dana allowed herself to actually plan for the future instead of just surviving day to day. When morning came, Dana had dozed off at the table, her head resting on her arms. She woke to small hands gently shaking her shoulder. "Mom, did you sleep here all night?" Jackson asked, his forehead wrinkled with concern. Dana blinked, disoriented for a moment, then remembered everything. A smile spread across her face. "Boys, sit down. I have something amazing to tell you." Tyler rubbed sleep from his eyes as he climbed onto a kitchen chair. "What is it?" Dana took a deep breath. "Yesterday at work, I served a very famous person, Shaquille O'Neal." Jackson's mouth dropped open. "The Shaq? The basketball player? From your TV?" Dana nodded, smile growing wider. "The very same. And he was really nice, and we talked a little bit. I told him about you too." "You told Shaq about us?" Tyler squeaked, suddenly wide awake. "I did. And after he left?" Dana paused, still hardly believing it herself. "After he left, he gave me this." She placed the check on the table where both boys could see it. Jackson squinted at it, then his eyes grew round as saucers. "Is that a check? For $25,000? Tyler looked confused. "How much is that?" "It's enough to pay for all your doctor visits," Dana explained, her voice catching. "Enough to maybe move to a nicer place. Enough that maybe Mommy won't have to work so many jobs." The boys stared at the check, then at their mother, then back at the check. Tyler was the first to move, launching himself into Dana's arms with such force that her chair slid back a few inches. "Does this mean you can come to my school play?" he asked, his small voice muffled against her shoulder. Dana hugged him fiercely, tears streaming down her face again. Of all the things he could have asked about, that's what mattered to him, having his mom there to watch him. "Yes, baby. I'll be at your play. Front row." Jackson joined the hug, wrapping his arms around both of them. "Can we call Shaq and say thank you?" he asked eagerly. Dana laughed through her tears. "I don't have his phone number, buddy, but I'm going to try to find a way to thank him. I promise." The three of them stayed like that, hugging in the morning light that streamed through their small kitchen window, a family whose future had suddenly opened up with possibilities. 2 weeks later, Dana stood in the empty living room of a small house, sunlight streaming through windows that needed washing. The floors creaked beneath her feet as she walked from room to room, trailing her fingers along walls that could use a fresh coat of paint. But none of that mattered. This house, this actual house with 3 bedrooms and a tiny backyard, was about to become theirs. "What do you think, boys?" she asked, turning to Jackson and Tyler, who were racing around, exploring every corner with the boundless energy of children discovering a new playground. "I get my own room," Jackson shouted, poking his head out from what would be his bedroom. "No more bunk beds." Tyler was in the backyard, measuring the space with his footsteps. "Mom, there's enough room for a dog." His voice carried the hope that had been growing in all of them since that night at the Coastal Grill. Dana smiled, fighting back the tears that seemed to come so easily these days. Happy tears, grateful tears. The past 14 days had been a whirlwind. She'd deposited Shaq's check, half expecting it to bounce despite everyone's assurances. When it cleared, she'd paid off Tyler's medical bills, all of them, in one fell swoop. She'd enrolled in night classes to finally finish her nursing degree. And she put a down payment on this modest house in a neighborhood with good schools and safe streets. She'd kept her job at the Coastal Grill, but dropped the coffee shop and tutoring work. For the first time in years, she had evenings with her boys, helping with homework and reading bedtime stories instead of rushing off to another shift. The real estate agent, a kind woman named Lou, stepped through the front door with a folder of papers. "All set, Dana. Just need your signature on a few more things, and the keys are yours." Dana nodded, still dazed by how quickly everything was happening. As she signed the papers, her phone buzzed with a text from Patty. "It's on the news. Channel 8. They're talking about you and Shaq. Dana froze. The story had spread through the restaurant staff, of course, but she hadn't told anyone else except Mrs. Lopez and her close family. How had the news found out? As if reading her mind, Lou said, "You're the talk of the town, you know. Single mom gets life-changing tip from Shaquille O'Neal. People love stories like that." Dana felt her cheeks grow warm. "I never wanted attention. I just wanted to thank him somehow." "Well," Lou said, handing over the keys with a smile, "the news people are pretty persistent. They've been calling the restaurant all week, I hear." After Lou left, Dana called the boys inside. "Let's go get some lunch and pick up cleaning supplies. We've got work to do if we're moving in this weekend." At the local diner, all three of them were starving after the morning's excitement. As they waited for their food, the TV mounted in the corner of the restaurant suddenly showed a familiar face, Shaquille O'Neal himself, being interviewed via video call. "And the waitress's name is Dana Mitchell," the reporter was saying. "Sources said you left her a $25,000 tip. Can you confirm that story?" Dana's heart pounded as she watched Shaq's familiar smile fill the screen. "Yeah, that's true," he said simply. "She was working 3 jobs to support her kids. One of her boys has medical needs. I was blessed to be in a position to help." "That's an incredibly generous tip," the reporter pressed. "What made you decide to do that?" Shaq shrugged, looking slightly uncomfortable with the attention. "When you meet good people working hard, you help if you can. That's how my mama raised me." "Have you heard from Dana since then?" "No, but I don't expect to. I didn't do it for a thank you." Dana felt tears welling up again. She'd been trying to figure out how to reach him, to express her gratitude, but hadn't found a way. "Mom, that's Shaq. On TV, he's talking about you." Tyler was bouncing in his seat, pointing at the screen. Other diners were turning to look at them now, murmurs spreading through the restaurant. The waitress who had taken their order was staring, recognition dawning on her face. "Mrs. Mitchell?" came a voice from behind her. Dana turned to see a woman holding a microphone, a cameraman just behind her. "I'm Kelly Wong from Channel 8 News. We've been hoping to speak with you about Shaquille O'Neal's generosity. Would you be willing to share your story?" Dana hesitated, looking at her boys. Jackson nodded eagerly. Tyler gave her a thumbs up. I'd like to," Dana said slowly. "But only if it helps me thank him properly. He changed our lives." Her voice broke a little, not just with the money, but by believing in me as a mom when I was starting to doubt myself. The reporter smiled warmly. "I think we can arrange that. In fact, I think a lot of people would love to hear your story." As the camera light switched on, Dana took a deep breath. This was so far outside her comfort zone. She'd spent years trying not to be noticed, just keeping her head down and working. But now she had a chance to publicly thank the man who'd changed everything with a simple act of kindness. "Hi, I'm Dana Mitchell," she began, her voice growing stronger with each word. "And I want to tell you about the night Shaquille O'Neal came to dinner and what happened next."